Hey everyone, I'm Levine, part of the organizing team for the APAC hackathon. Thank you for taking the time to attend this workshop and learning together as a community. I would like to introduce you to Nino, our speaker for today, who is the Chief Product Officer of Apillon. He's doing a workshop on Apillon, the only tool you need for Web3 building. I hope you will find today's workshop meaningful in building your project. So with that, let's officially start the workshop. Nino, the stage is yours. You can come closer to the podium.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction.
Oh, sorry, Nino. Could I trouble you to move closer to the podium where I'm standing at?
Closer to what?
The is within a specific area, which is where I'm standing at. Yes,
Okay.
nearer to me. So when your name
A little bit of introduction to what we do, and then demo in the real platform of Apillon on how you can use it. I personally think we have really good solution, especially for hackathons. So you might utilize some of the services we already have available to build whatever you desire on the hackathon itself. So yeah, let's start off with just a little bit of introduction that I have prepared. Okay, you can see the screen. So Apillon is a Web3 development platform built on top of several parachains. Right now we are covering Crust, Kilt, Moonbeam, and Astar. And what we do is we take a specific parachain, we configure everything in the background, we buy their specific tokens and have them in custody, and we derive a specific service out of that parachain. So in this context, we have hosting and storage. So let's move straight to the dashboard. It will be easier like that. So we have storage and hosting, and both these services are made from Crust network, as you probably know. And for those of you who are not familiar with Crust, it's a pinning service. So it's a parachain with pinning service on top of IPFS. So essentially what they do is they calibrate the supply and demand logic on IPFS, because IPFS in itself does not have any payments or any, how to say, incentivization, right? So everyone who runs their IPFS node can participate in IPFS, and those files are visible, but they're not getting paid. So this is what Crust does. So what we did essentially is in storage, we simulated very much the behavior of typical cloud services like S3 on AVS, where you can create a new bucket, right? So let's say right now in Apillon, we're creating a new bucket with the desire to use this bucket as a container for the files we're gonna be deploying, or the files that we're using in our Web3 application, right? So it can be either mobile application, it can be web application. Either way, whatever we put into this bucket, it's going to be and remain decentralized. So let's say we create Angel Hack bucket, we give it some description, and as you can see, there is 5 gigs available already as a free bucket that anyone can use. So what happens now, we basically connect via Crust to IPFS, and we create this bucket logic. There is no bucket logic inherently on IPFS or Crust because the files you put up are pinned for a minimum of 6 months. So it's kind of tricky to say, how can you delete a file from IPFS? Well, it's very hard, but we still create buckets to simulate the environment you guys are used to. And of course, this bucket then immediately becomes available via API. So what we can do now is simply drag and drop some sort of file. We can wrap it in the directory, or we just say upload now. So this does not go straight or directly to Crust and IPFS. We grab it with our own IPFS gateway, and then the file is in the pending status until the pinning is done. And then, of course, you will also get the download links and file CID, which both lead to IPFS. Um, as you can see, we also have the view with all files. You can also have webhook if you need it so much, or even IPNS. So for those of you who aren't familiar, IPNS allows you to interchange. So IPNS is like DNS in the domain world, right? So you can have one domain and the IP behind keeps on changing. So IPNS would serve the same purpose on IPFS. To go a little bit deeper, each time you put a file to IPFS, even though it's the same file, you're going to get a new IPFS link, which means it becomes really hard to upkeep this if you don't use IPNS. So while IPNS remains static as an address, you can keep on swapping the files which are beneath that. Before I go forward, are there any questions to this point? Okay, I see Frank. Oh, hi, Frank. Nice to meet you again. All right, I'm gonna continue. Anyway, we also have deleted items, even though I mentioned there are no actual deletes on IPFS. What delete means is essentially the lease for a file does not get extended after the minimum of 6 months period passes, right? So this is how we are treating the buckets. And here you can see in our documentation how you can easily upload to bucket. So to really jump from the storage part onto something tangible, you could be creating, Web3 clones of Dropbox, of Google Drive, or for example, I'm using Obsidian. If someone knows, very similar to Notion, so maybe a sync service could be built for Obsidian using our buckets, etc. Any off-the-box support for data encryption on Apillon? Yes, so we do have a solution built across 3 parachains, actually. So I'm now, for anyone who is listening, I'm answering the question from the chat, right? So we do have a solution built. It's not public yet, but it will soon be. How it works is basically, let's say you have a wallet and you have one NFT in it. You visit this solution, you pull any file you want. It can be text file, it can be file containing your passwords, and you upload this file to file a FAT contract. And there you sign it with your wallet, and um, the file gets encrypted using your NFT, which means, and then of course stored to IPFS, which means anyone who has this NFT can unlock or decrypt the file while no one else can. So the idea here is to open this protocol now for everyone, which means you would drag and drop the file, and it would get encrypted and then answered the question. And of course, it's not out of the box. Piñata is still like a central body that controls those IPFS gateways. I'm not aware that they would be running that there are any IPFS gateways in their network which are ran by someone out of Piñata. So that I don't know. While technically in Apillon, we do have our own IPFS gateway, which is the first point of contact, and it's very close to most of European requests. So we have control over that to some extent. But still, once the file is then sent to Crust, it gets pinned to, let's say, 15 randomly selected nodes across the world, which are providing storage for Crust. So you would get like 15 replicas of each file sent to this specific bucket. So yeah, direct competitor to Piñata, and you can get a lot of stuff free, not just cheap. I hope I answered that as well. Um, all right. Any more questions here? Okay. So as you can see, I created a new bucket. The file got sent, and here's the download link. And this is the file I have uploaded. As you can see, the load is quite good. And there are 46 replicas already on the um, on the crust or IPFS across several nodes, and the first expiration will be in the December. So that's how it looks. And of course, you can create directories, you can upload, you can drag and drop files from here, do whatever you want. I think I concluded before answering the question already the buckets with the very simple API. So if you access this via API, you will have an experience that you are very used to from before. You will not have to have cross tokens. We are the ones who are paying for everything underlying. You don't have to wait, for the pinning service to be finished. You get all the statuses via our API, and you're building like you would in Web 2. All right, the next thing, it's also one of our services. It's also derived from Crust. Of course, because hosting is also all about storage, so I will not go over all the details. The main difference is you can now host your website in a decentralized or Web3 manner, free of charge, using Apillon and then immediately underlying Crust. It is intended mostly for static websites. You can also work with Next.js, Vue.js, React. We have templates available for that with all the necessary calls already. Um, except pay attention in Next.js because of the server-side rendering. It does not work in all the server-side rendering mods. So you have to check which one works and which one doesn't. So if we now go to the UI and to the process itself, basically what we tried to mimic here are three stages. One is upload, then it's preview, and then it's production. So we allow you to pull, drag and drop your static website, like you can see here, and upload happens, and then you can move to preview. So this same package, this same upload package goes to preview, and you can already preview it from our own IPFS. And the main difference between production and preview is that pinning to crust starts in production, which means this preview is completely free of charge, and no money is spent. You're supposed to do like a quick check whether everything works on preview, and if it does, you click deploy to production, and then it goes to production and it gets pinned on crust, etc., etc. We of course added the domain support, which is very trivial. You get typical a record, value, host name, and so on, which you enter. And it also, of course, works over IPNS link. So this is all possible. Just to mention, we are providing you with an SSL as well from our own server. So yeah, this is how you can host basically anything that is possible to work in static. For those of you who are maybe still working in WordPress or something old, and you're still thinking, I would love to move to Web3. I would like to be hosted from there. It's possible. It's also possible to derive and export WordPress or generate it from the server side and get a static product that you can then pull up. Of course, also available in our APIs. So yeah, do read those. All right. For the final service, we have NFTs, and then I will also be talking about upcoming services and what you can build with them. But with NFTs, we can go over the whole process. So with the NFTs, we're now touching several parachains via one simple wizard. Excuse me. Um, And yeah, let's try to create an NFT um, collection. So first of all, the intention of what we're producing here isn't NFT collection that then goes to OpenSea or Tofu. It can, but the idea here is more that you create NFT collection that you host yourself, right? So you immediately also utilize hosting to build any website you want. You have full control over that website, and you can mint, or users can mint NFTs on that specific website. So the first step, starting with NFTs, is of course the metadata. Super important. Where do you store your NFTs? Where do you store your own metadata, right? So if you don't have NFT metadata ready somewhere, then you can press proceed and start by providing metadata. This is not so revolutionary. A lot of people know how NFTs are made, but the main difference is we are utilizing our storage buckets, which are decentralized, to pull in your metadata and store the metadata decentrally. So if I now go to select the CSV file, so I have this, and I created some attributes in this specific collection. So I just have to confirm those attributes and say they're string-based attributes, which we detect. And now we also have to upload the pictures, which I have over here. Um, Mind you, I've created all these images using Midjourney AI, and I just talked to Midjourney until I had enough of those pictures. So here you can see the preview of CSVs and the images already rendered, and you can review whether everything in CSV went correct. You can also switch to the table view, and it becomes easier to review everything, right? So we have a lot of warriors, etc. So now I press looks good and proceed. And here we give it some name, and we'll have test. Uh, we give it some symbol, and then of course we choose where do we want to deploy. So we are supporting right now Moonbeam, Mainnet, Moonbase, Testnet, obviously, and Astar. And these are all the chains that you can deploy. We are now working on Remark standard, and soon after that, we are also reviewing GearTech as a protocol, and we are also going to be expanding the offering of smart contracts that you can deploy. Right now, it's EVM ERC 721. All right, so once we are ready with the collection parameters, we click next. The total supply, so how many NFTs are already, is matched by the number of pictures I've uploaded, so 113. I don't want these NFTs to be revocable, and I don't want them to be soulbound. In case you don't know what any of these parameters means, you can just hover and see what the tooltip says. And yeah, I can put in one of the addresses where the royalties fees are going to land. Now keep in mind that royalties fees are always in percentage. So if I enter 5, this would mean 5%, right? Okay, so we have a price. So if we turn on drop, which means the collection is going to appear on a website once the timestamp is met, we can also set specific price, and then people are able to mint those NFTs once the timestamp is met. Reserve means how many NFTs are reserved for me to print free of charge. So yeah, this is it. We click proceed, and now we can review. So this is like the final review of how these NFTs will look like. And we say deploy to blockchain, deploy NFT collection. And now we wait. So now basically what's happening is uploading metadata, which means a new bucket was created in storage automatically, which then leads to decentralized storage on IPFS. And we are pushing the metadata and 113 photos to that storage, creating JSON files from them, and then adding those URLs into the smart contract. So this is what's happening now. Okay, so here um, the files were now uploaded. The smart contract is still being processed in the background, and now we are at the last step. Smart contract is going to get deployed. What now? What happens now with the UI? How do we access these NFTs, right? So as you can see, we can create a website to display NFTs. If I click this, it immediately takes me to a fork of our NFT template, but you don't have to fork it. You can, if you're good with GitHub, you can go to NFT template and just clone it. But in general, what this file is vanilla JavaScript code, which already knows how to fetch and mint NFTs. So you don't have to do anything but with this logic. But what you can do is basically shape the website any way you like with just basic HTML and CSS, like I did in this case, but it's very primitive. So let's be realistic. The most important thing that you have to do is paste the address of the NFT collection here and then choose the chain ID. Once you have this, this website will work and will be able to mint the NFTs we just deployed. So let's go back to our website, to our dashboard, and see where we are. Okay, so here's the deployment. And as you can see, it's already created, but we're still waiting for the deployment, right? Once this is done, we will get, so the contract is still deploying. Once this is done, in this column, you will get contract address. So this is what you put into this field. And then because we deployed on Moonbase, not on Moonbeam, what we do is just comment out this, right? And if I save this, I can now deploy this website. What do I mean by deploying, right? By deploying, I mean you go to our hosting, you select new website, you enter the name of the website, and you drag and drop these files into it. So if we look at the JavaScript folder here, you can see it's completely the same structure as it is in the template we have, right? So ABI, environment, and script.js. So let's see how this looks like. Um, so this is the website I have created. I wrote a little bit of story and just used Bootstrap to have some grid, and I used the existing logic from the template we have provided. And the time to timestamp to mint has already passed, so this is quite an old deployment. And what I could do here is press mint. It would start up the talisman or any wallet that I might have, but I emptied all my Glimmer on minting some other collections. So I'm empty at the moment, but you could go to this website and try and mint. What you see below are the NFTs that were already minted. So this is the basic, very basic functionality on how you can deploy smart contract, get the template, put this template into hosting, connect the domain, and everything works like it would in Web 2. Bear in mind that not always, it's not necessary that all NFT collections look like this, right? What you could do in general is write a game in JavaScript, and each time the user, so this game in JavaScript would be hosted from Crust and IPFS, you would have your domain, and each time a specific achievement of the user or level is achieved, user gets the ability to mint and get reward, right? They have the button to mint for the price of 0, for example, right? So you could you throw the contract address into, yeah, of course I can, sure. Let's see that. What are you interested in? What do you want to see subsequently? Let's see which one I have. This is the one I have. All right. So this is see its incourseability, and if there are some special function which I'm not aware. So the ERC 721 contract we're using here is taken from Open Zeppelin, actually. Um, was this the question? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're using mostly audited standards that are out there. We're expanding Astar to WASM as well, and every new contract that we're going to support is going to be definitely audited and tested well. So yeah, that's the topic of that's the question on that. Um, All right. Where was I? Where did I stop? Yeah. So it's not necessary that you build always just a collection where people mint. Of course, it's possible, but you could build any other logic before or after that and still have the whole spectrum of NFTs. No, there are no hidden royalties, but there is one thing I should mention. This one is very important. Um, for the convenience of the user, right? Because we want you to be able to go through the NFT deployment without knowing anything, without touching the blockchain. It means this contract is deployed by Apillon. Our wallet is the owner. And what you have to do is if you want this to become fully decentralized and you want to be full owner, you have to go to that contract and transfer ownership. And then in this case, you can take it and it becomes yours forever. So you can detach yourself from Apillon and do whatever you want. And I think this is not think, but we are building towards applying this logic in every service we are providing or building, right? Okay, this is how far we are right now across several services. So as pointed out, when you deploy NFT collection, you touch a lot of things. And there are two more services now coming. One is authentication. This service is derived from Kilt parachain. So what this means is so Apillon is already a tester on Kilt, and the C type we're attesting for is email. So how this is going to look like, and I think we already have this somewhere. Let's see if this will work. I cannot demo this right now, but I will briefly go over it. And it's coming very soon. So we have all the integration done with Kilt, tested really well, and we're now going to enable it. So if you're a developer and you're looking to build something that has sign up and sign in, obviously you want to be able to differentiate somehow and have some sort of account where you can either store the privacy data or the ownership or the progress itself. You can come to Apillon authentication service, turn it on, and Kilt will be enabled, which means we are the ones who integrate Kilt on the other side. We do the heavy lifting. You get only the API. And with this API, you will be able to create account with email and password literally into your mobile app, into your Web3 app, and it will look like this. User will have to enter their email. They will get confirmation email once they click on the link. Apillon will do the attestation. And because user clicked on the email, we can attest that the email is correct. And the DID will be generated with the specific credentials. Now, in this case, the credential is pushed into the client side of your user. You as a developer, you never touch the DID. It goes straight to the client side of the user, and then user has several ways of what they want to do with it. If you are developing mobile app, you can put this DID into local storage and of course encrypt it there and just call it out every time you need it. Or if it's on the desktop, user may save those DID credentials to their desktop or store on wallet. So this is like standard way of supporting DIDs. But more importantly, we are building a solution which will take DID credentials, put them into client side from the user, and user will be able to use password or NFT or the wallet to encrypt this file, and we're going to store it somewhere on IPFS. So this service will enable users to enter the email and password, actually first the email, so we can retrieve the encrypted file, put it in the client side, and then user decrypts it on the client side, and then goes forward by using it to log in. Right, so this is how we envisioned frictionless, walletless login, but still with whole benefits of DIDs, and this is coming very soon. Computing services are derived from Fala, FAT contracts, and we do have some sweet demo on the topic. I would maybe demo it sometime else. We just showed it on Copenhagen, but essentially we are at the beginning of the integration with Fala. We're researching FAT contracts and what to do more with them, but definitely an important service to be integrated very soon. Before I conclude and take extra questions, I would just like to point out that we also support several projects, so you can have more than one project. And within project settings, you are able to work with other team members and give them specific roles. Now, these roles are very limited at the moment, but you can still, if you are in the hackathon, you want to work on something, you don't have to share the password, you can do it here. And as well as API keys, everything can be done from this dashboard, right? So this is how I generate API keys, and I can attach it to a specific service which is in this project, right? So don't forget these two parameters are here. About analytics, service monitors, etc. This is something for the future, but not so ultra important right now. So yeah, we believe Apillon is, we are focused really high up on the application layer. We want to enable developers to have really fast development, like no-brainer services that everyone needs, and just fly through the development with their existing skills without ever doubting that we are, doing some hidden agenda behind that. Everything you do is actually produced and stored on Web3. We are in a very hybrid um, position right now, because the dashboard you see here is served from AVS, from centralized services, but whatever you produce via our APIs is guaranteed decentralized, right? So if I go through NFT collection deployment, files will land on IPFS, and a smart contract will be deployed, and your website will also be on IPFS. So all this will be working, even though, let's say, AVS shuts us down. So we are right now sitting in this position. I want to be completely transparent on how the tool is built. So yeah, as soon as it's possible, we are going to move away to a more decentralized solution, and APIs and dashboard will also be served from there. Um, yeah. Any more questions? I would be glad to have some. All right. If there are no specific questions, I would like to point out that I'm available for either consultancy. If someone decides to build anything with Apillon during the hackathon or after that, feel free to contact me, and we are able to unlock more buckets. Right now, there is one bucket per account. We can give you higher limits. We can help you out with some coding. So we are available for all that as well. Um, yeah.